Lots of teams right now are making a move into a more virtual way of working with one another. So I'm reaching out just to share a couple of best practices that you might integrate into your team so that you can lead them through what might be a very difficult transition. The first important thing as a leader is that you set the tone for your team. Now more than ever, when people are facing uncertainty and ambiguity, it is the leader's role to provide some element of structure so that people are able to coordinate effectively. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't still be flexible and adaptable so that people can adjust on their own. However, as a leader, you need to give that skeleton structure so that people are still able to coordinate with one another. The second important thing as a leader that you need to do is to establish a clear way for people to actually collaborate with one another virtually. Most commonly, this is going to involve using some collaboration software, something like Microsoft Teams or Slack or Confluence. If your team still relies on email as the primary mode of coordination, that's going to have to change. As you ramp up your virtual collaboration, now is the time to communicate that you expect people to rely upon some of these other more enhanced collaboration software packages. A third key thing as a leader that you need to do is establish a rhythm for your team. And this is especially important to have a rhythm of communications. I like to think about synchronous communications and asynchronous communications. As a general rule, you should try to reduce the number of synchronous all-team meetings that you have where people are all dialed in at the same time to something like Zoom or WebEx and sharing information in a pretty interdependent and reciprocal way. That's important, but it shouldn't be something that consumes more than a quarter of someone's day. I like to think about just a morning briefing or an end-of-the-day briefing in which people are able to share key information, raise important questions, and better coordinate asynchronously. For that asynchronous collaboration, when people aren't all together at the same time, you can use some of those valuable collaboration software packages that I mentioned earlier. Even something like Google Docs is a wonderful way for people to collaborate asynchronously. A fourth important thing as a leader that you need to keep your eye on is for the emergence of subgroups. This is something that obviously happens even when you're not collaborating virtually, but when people are strictly in a virtual mode, the emergence of subgroups or cliques within a team can stifle the flow of information among team members. And really, that's the whole reason we're in teams in the first place, is to share and exchange information with one another. So make sure that you have your eye out for what might be unproductive subgroups within your team. And the last thing for you to remember as a leader is that now is the time to set and establish a climate of learning within your team. People are working in new ways. They're adapting, and it's important that you as a team collectively are also adapting. And so what that means is that you communicate that you expect people to contribute their ideas and their suggestions for how your team can do a more effective job as you move forward. You can also do this asynchronously. With some of those collaboration softwares, it can be an easy way for people to flag either issues that come up or ideas and solutions that they have for how people can do things better. So just a couple of tips that you might use as you make a transition to a more virtual way of working together as a team. Hopefully this is helpful.